Saturday, September 3rd, somewhere in the Oise. A Fraser Nash and Alfa Romeo 6C followed by a Jaguar E-Type. We must admit that the show is not common. These exceptional and rare cars participating in the Collectors Rally, a tourist ride around the area of Chantilly and reserved for participants of the concours Art et d'Elegance, Richard Mille. For much of Saturday, these works of art of automotive history travel through the region to the delight of their proud owners, as well as the public. And during the lunch break at the Abbey of Royaumont, no one can deny the pleasure. Don't you find it pretty? She's so beautiful. This is my future car.
S'il vous plaît.
L'intérieur. Et puis les formes.
Inside, and I like the form. It makes the volume. It's female.
Ça met du volume.
C'est féminin.
Voilà.
The car is not so well known, an Oscar, and when we go on the road, people seem to find it beautiful, and it really is fun to see.
It was a concours dans la campagne. That's what it was. You didn't drive fast.
And you love it?
Yes, well, it was nice. Get the car out, have a rally time, and it was very enjoyable. No? We didn't race. This is not a race. There's not a rally in that sense. So in French, I think you call it une balade.
In the 2016 novelty category, there was another rally reserved for supercars dating from the 90s to today. This is an excellent excuse to get this kind of car out. There are about 25, and we will drive quietly on the road. It's not a race, but a nice walk with legendary cars. Around 30 cars like these we admire in the glossy magazines that will initially start, and it really is not every day that you can admire them on the same road as the Bugatti Veyron, Ferrari's F40 and 50, or the McLarens. Specialists among specialists in this kind of civilized race cars, Stéphane Rattel is delighted to be part of the start of the rally. A third edition of Art and Elegance, and a first for this rally of contemporary cars. It's a novelty that we will try to perpetuate. It's no question to play as a driver with these monster cars. Some are over 1,000 brake horsepower. However, on the Mortefontaine speed circuit, it's a different story, where owners become drivers for an afternoon and various sessions for drivers to test the limits of their supercars. And it's not every day that you can ride on the speed ring of the test track closed to the public 364 days a year.
Il y a 2 ans, on avait stricto sensu le dimanche. Et puis,
for 2 years, we had only the Sunday, and progressively, events extended. Today, there are already a lot of cars and entertainment, and many collectors already present, and indeed, it's an event that goes on.
Donc demain, ça va être la journée complète, mais effectivement, c'est un événement qui s'allonge.
The third edition of Chantilly Arts and Elegance Richard Mille begins very strong, and it does not finish far away, just back inside the park of the castle. The auction, organised by the famous House of Bonhams. 30 lots were put up for sale, and you could find all types of cars. The R5 Turbo is in exceptional condition, through to several Horch ancestor of Audis, and more.
Il y a un peu tout, il y a des autos des années 50, des années 60.
There are cars of the 50s and 60s, and as recent as a Porsche 928 GTS manual gearbox, with very few kilometres on the clock, which is rare for this kind of car. There is another Porsche 3.6-litre turbo, another rare model, and then there are beautiful cars like the Oscar Zagato, a lovely car in the sense that it's made the competition when it was new, and today she's eligible for many events such as the Tour Auto and Le Mans Classic.
Et aujourd'hui, cette petite ligne tout à fait filée est éligible pour plein d'événements comme le Mans Classique ou le Tour Auto.
But the highlight of the show was indisputably Mercedes-Benz 500k Special Roadster. Considered one of the most powerful sports cars in the 30s, it is still exceptional because it belonged to the same family for nearly 80 years. Just 29 were built, of which only 2 in this body version. Collectors were panicked during the sale.
3 900 000, 4 millions. 4 millions, nouvelles enchérisseurs.
4 million 2.
4 millions 200 000.
4 million 4.
4 millions 400 000.
6.
4 millions 600 000. À 4 millions 600 000.
Selling the car now here. Now, all done in Chantilly to you, sir, at 4 million 600,000 euros. You're all done.
Adjugé 4 millions 600 000.
Sold for 4.6 million euro. The figure alone is staggering, but also shows how the Bonham sale held in Chantilly has become one of the most prestigious in the world.
Chers collectionneurs, chers invités, chers partenaires, chers amis, vous allez passer une soirée magnifique, déguster un magnifique dîner concocté par 3 grands chefs étoilés, Jean-Michel Laurin, Philippe Mille et Philippe Vété.
Table Wade van Niekerk, the 400-metre Olympic champion, actor John Malkovich, and Jean Todt, president of the FIA, are sat with Richard Mille. The evening begins and diners can sample the cuisine of the great French chef Relais and Chateau, event partners. Sunday morning, the sky is overcast in Chantilly, and weather for the day does not look much better. Still, the competition has found its audience as a dense crowd cross the main gate of the estate. And it's better to arrive at the opening as there is so much to see and discover strolling amid the grounds of Le Notre. Just a few years ago, the competition Concours d'Elegance had admittedly a somewhat cheesy side. But in the last 3 years, the Patrick Peter teams have managed to make the Chantilly glamorous. And it's not a coincidence. This year, fashion designers such as Jean-Paul Gaultier, Balmain, Giorgio Armani, Emmerich Francois, Timothy Everest and Jürgen Simonsen participated in the parade with the concept cars lined up to be presented to the jury and the public. The mannequin, dressed by Jean-Paul Gaultier, for example, paraded alongside the Mercedes Maybach 6, a car without driver, straight out of a science fiction movie. She made her first European appearance in Chantilly, a real sensation. The Beauty received the special prize of the public. But victory in the Concours d'Elegance goes to the DS manufacturer, associated with designer Émeric François. DS E-Tense is a supercar that places the brand created a year ago in the big leagues. This car is a concentration of expertise of the brand in terms of brand technology. It is a 100% electric car that also serves as our development laboratory. And then it shows our know-how in terms of exterior and interior styling. If you look inside, it's extraordinary. Entirely handmade by our saddlers. It's really the expression of our expertise and our avant-garde technology. To make the perfect link between the stimulating future and the exciting history of BMW, the Mille concept coupe is undoubtedly the perfect illustration of the expertise of the century-old brand in 2016. There is the history of BMW, a model that launched the brand in motorsport. It's the 328. It was based on being light with an aluminium body, aerodynamics and a 6-cylinder inline engine. And we must admit that the concept car makes a fitting tribute alongside the splendid 328 and some of the cars that marked forever a century of the history of BMW. Chantilly Arts and Elegance Richard Mille is certainly a competition day. But in the castle park there are attractions for all. Families come simply to spend an elegant Sunday in the countryside. The men often focus on the mechanical things. The ladies take the opportunity to stroll amidst the beautiful people, and children take the opportunity to play and participate in various organised events. I have a 1928 car that is my age, and immediately after a 38. It's cool to see this, and after there is one that is displayed beautifully to the public. It's extraordinary to show it to a child who's just 11 years old. I like the bodies of some cars, colours and some interiors that are very nice.
Et puis, il y a aussi l'intérieur qui peut être assez joli.
This is one of the biggest castle. Yeah, one of the most beautiful castle I ever seen.
It's great to be here because we see a lot of beautiful women with beautiful hats, and it's super cute with the castle. And then all these horses. It's really beautiful. First, the Concours d'Elegance. It's time to dress well, to leave the beautiful robes and most beautiful cars dressed with beautiful robes. And suddenly, we all take as many photos as possible. There is so much to see and do in Chantilly for the whole family. Automotive as a central theme of the event is almost incidental. Yes, because it's not just the cars of the Concours d'Elegance to admire, there are the hundreds of car clubs present on the lawns to see and see again. The clubs also make it a point of honour to be worthily represented at Chantilly in the Image Club AC. Alongside the friendly triclarist of France, everything stood on the mood and good humour. It is true that being triclarist is a succession of genuine balanced passion. It's sharing, and that's important. We rub shoulders with all the people, whether they have high-end or low-end cars, whether it is pure happiness. Lamborghini lover or Bugattis. We're not sectarian. This year, they are also the ones who won the Grand Prix of Clubs, and thus succeed in the category de la Haye and de l'Age. We recognise them mostly in their hats. They walk in small groups with a focused and attentive air. Jurors of the Concours d'État are mostly specialists in automotive history, but not only. An example, the designer Chantal Thomas was part of the jury of the steam car category and atypical bodies.
C'est très intéressant parce que d'abord on voit des voitures exceptionnelles.
This is very interesting because we see cars that have exceptional detail and a technique that was amazing for that time, which was beautiful. So we judge the aesthetics, and Monsieur helps us in all that is technical.
Et Monsieur nous aide pour juger les choses plus techniques. Voilà.
The job of the judges is to inspect cars to the smallest detail in order to designate the one that deserves to win the first prize in each of the 13 categories devised by Patrick Peter. A daunting task to the extent that the input selection of the competition is already extremely sharp. Cars presented on the lawns of Chantilly are the cream of the crop. Beautiful things, certain cars that never made a concours, and therefore some new discoveries. It's a fascinating time when the history is concentrated in so many square meters.
Enfin, quelques mètres carrés, non. De très nombreux mètres carrés, disons, mais ouais, c'est passionnant.
The people, the passion of the owners, the cars, the history of the cars, their significance. I mean, we have a car here driven by Peter Collins, very famous racing driver in the 50s, and it's an original car. He raced the car twice, and it's untouched, so you can almost hear him as the doors open. I can hear his voice, the sound of him. He raced alongside Sterling Moss in a similar car. There's a photographic history there. So it's just magnificent to see that. And then the passion of those owners who've kept everything as it were, all restored beautifully as well. So it's just great. I'm having fun.
Paul Bermondo was part of the jury of the tribute to the 50 years of career of Jean Todt category. It's difficult, there is everything, and I must choose just one. I'm rather sensitive to cars that give the impression that they are parked and then will restart. I'm less sensitive to completely restored cars. I prefer cars in their true form, and then I have a soft spot for the Formula One.
Me touche plus, puis après, bon, les Formule 1 aussi.
And the Peugeot 504 Rally Group 4 of 1977 seems to come straight from an African rally. It is in its true form. It's a car that Jean Todt shared at the time with Jean Guichet, who is here. It's always nice to see a well-maintained car that's in the same condition as when I left in 1979.
Exact. Quand j'ai quitté en 79.
We do not know to retreat back. Is it always in your size?
No.
Not at all. I drive sitting all the way back. Young drivers drive with the wheel at their belly.
Je suis de la génération on conduisait de très loin le volant. Donc maintenant les jeunes conduisent le volant dans le ventre.
The FIA president was therefore honoured with a state competition category, retracing his co-pilot career and time as team manager at Peugeot Sport and Ferrari. Jean Todt and Michel Yeo spent their weekend in Chantilly. This weekend there was the F1 in Monza, WEC in Mexico, and frankly, I'm happy to be at Chantilly.
Des voitures de sport et puis il y avait Chantilly et franchement, je suis heureux d'être à Chantilly. Le fait que Patrick Peter, Richard Mille aient décidé de me rendre un hommage pour marquer ses 50 ans dans l'automobile 66.
The fact that Patrick Peter and Richard Mille have decided to honour me for this 50-year career in the automobile world is rewarding, exciting, and it brings back many memories, which we don't think of regularly.
On ne pense pas régulièrement.
On the Lawn Le Nôtre, the time travel is impressive because in addition to the tribute to Jean Todt cars, it was, for example, possible to admire a series of British marques that have disappeared. Ferrari cars tribute to Charles Posey with two fantastic 512 BBLM. The Bugatti Grand Prix. Or a class dedicated to the masterpieces of the French body.
On a même le menu, regarde, on a même le menu.
Le veau caviar d'Aubervilliers. Ça va le faire. Et les penne tomates basilic. Bon. Pour un pique-nique, c'est quand même pas mal.
Chantilly is also this, the largest picnic of the year on the lawns of the castle, in the lunch areas or in clubs, a key moment of the day. The garden party in full swing in the middle of the auto collection, while the lucky ones received a collector's club lunch prepared by the Relais et Chateau Grand Chef. For the judges, the break is not taken because they have to deliberate and nominate the winning cars in each category. With the selection committee led by Patrick Peter, judges appoint the first prizes. Regarding the cars of the Tour de France automobile from 1951 to 1964, they were unanimous. We positioned the Ferrari Tour de France in first place because we found it perfect. Perfect? It is in fact the term that best suits the Ferrari TDF. The cars of the Tour de France looked great on the lawns of Chantilly, and there were some truly unexpected categories, which included atypical bodies and steam cars. And as you can imagine, steam car collectors are not exactly beating down the doors.
This car is a white steam car. It was originally purchased by William Upjohn, who in the 1880s invented a solid pill that you could swallow. Prior to that, you took powder and you put it in water. And he was a wealthy American pharmacist who lived in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And he went out and bought fanciest and biggest car that he could get in the day in 1903. And this is it. And then the car passed to his stepson-in-law, who kept the car in a museum, in the Gilmore Museum in Kalamazoo, till we bought it through a friend.
Mitch and Wendy Gross won first prize with their white 1903 machine that preceded 63 years the masterpiece of Lamborghini, the Mille. Was presented at the Turin Motor Show. In itself, it has an extraordinary colour that no longer exists. They took a pure pearl that they have reduced to dust and mixed with varnish, and it's called pearl white blood.
Et ensuite, ils l'ont mélangé à du vernis, et ça s'appelle blanc perlescent, et c'est cette couleur.
Everyone can judge this colour, but imagine what happens in 1966 when we discover for the first time a Mille in a colour that does not exist. There is also a break from the English newspaper, Motoring News, that said that this car is certainly the most desirable in the world, which is still an achievement.
Donc c'est quand même un achievement.
The National Guard is the starting point of the award for this edition of Chantilly Arts and Elegance. The The winners of the 13 classes, designed by Patrick Peter and his selection committee, gather around the large mirror of water that surrounds the castle. An enchanting show, captivating for the audience, but also the jury, including Nick Mason, drummer for Pink Floyd, and car collector Scholar. Of course, the prize that everyone expects is the best of show that rewards the best of the best in all classes. After Delahaye and Mercedes, it's an Alfa Romeo that wins the coveted award. And what an Alfa Romeo! Already winner at Pebble Beach and Villa d'Este, the 8C Lungo Berlinetta of John Shirley is simply a rolling art. Despite the less than perfect weather, the third edition of Chantilly Arts and Elegance Richard Mille attracted 13,500 people and has definitely earned its stars.
Very important for me. The car is won in Italy and in the United States, and it's wonderful to bring it to here and have it win Best of Show. I think that what's nice about this one is where it's here. It's the fact that it's this beautiful place, and people bring so many wonderful cars here. You know, there were great cars here. So to win here, it means you have to meet some very good cars.
Before I visited many French castles, but this one is really nice, and the event is just gorgeous. I love all these cars, like the victorious Alfa, the Jaguars, and all these other models. It was a great time.
Comme le Fasselweg, ils avaient tous les Jaguars, ils avaient tous, c'était un très bon moment.
Such a compliment, and we cannot leave indifferent the one without whom the event would not exist. Richard Mille, jeweler, collector, and event partner. Every year, we say with my friend Patrick Peter it will be hard to beat, but ultimately, we are surprised. The change is dramatic. The first was already great, but now I think we've reached a remarkable level.
Là, je pense qu'on atteint un niveau assez remarquable.
September 10, 2017 is already in the diary. It will be the 4th edition of Chantilly Arts and Elegance Richard Mille.